In our first story, hundreds of aggrieved customers of struggling fund managers Gold Coast Fund Management Tuesday morning embarked on a demonstration to pile pressure on the company to pay back their locked-up investments. This is just one of the many protests that have hit the company in recent times. Gold Coast Securities, a member of Group Indum, has been struggling to keep afloat and pay its customers. My colleague PSA Nanaya Osafo is with the demonstrators. But first, let's take his report sent in earlier.
I'm currently standing here at the Obra Spot in Accra, where, as you can see, customers of the aggrieved Gold Coast Fund Management Limited are here, scores of them, to protest and, in fact, demonstrate to government and managers of the Gold Coast Fund Management Limited for their funds. You recall that last year, as at October 2018, there was a directive from the Security and Exchange Commission, SEC, to have them stop all operations whatsoever and shut down. Some of the placards here today on display are Dr. Indum and GCFM are killing Ghanaians. Arrest Dr. Indum now. He is not above the law. Why government shielding Dr. Indum to robbers and so many others here? And as I speak to you, you can see the bus there with several customers pouring in from various parts of Accra, told here. I have here with me Inspector Kwabna Danso, who is of the Ghana Police Service. He will talk to us about the agreed routes for which today's demonstration is to take from here right up to the Jubilee House, where it's set to end for them to present their petition. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Okay, so about this demonstration, we already had a release from the Ghana Police Service this morning on the agreed route for them to take. But for listeners who are not so much into it, please tell us about it.
Yes, as you can see, they've started converging at Obra Spot. When everything is said and done, we'll commence the demonstration through the Kwame Nkrumah Avenue. We'll continue to Farisco, continue to Street, and we'll end up at the Ministry of Finance, where they will present a petition, after which we'll come back and continue on the Liberation Road, and we'll end up at the Jubilee House, where once again they will present a petition.
Since the beginning of this crisis, and let's balance it with the amount that they have not paid. We are talking of investment over 5 billion Ghana cedis. So if you come out to say that you have paid 60 million, what have you done? What have you done? So it is neither here nor there. But the investment came with a contract signing, and the contract signing was guided by timelines. When I'm signing my money there, I will either try to invest it on a portfolio of 3 months, and per my decision after the 3 months, I will either instruct whether the investment should be rolled over for another 6 months, or I will take both my capital and the interest. Per the investment that we had, our maturity dates are long overdue, and it is within our dictate, our sole prerogative dictate, to decide whether the investment should roll over or not. So upon the agreement that we had with them, we are supposed to have received our investment plus the interest in full. So we are requesting them to pay us in full with its accrued interest. We don't want any long-term investment, because some of us are businessmen and we put the money there for 3 months. When we get contracts, we go and spend it on the contract. So if you are going to spend 3 years, 4 years to pay, what good are you doing me? So we are demanding for immediate full payment from the company.
Still live on JoyNews today, let's move to the Communications Minister, Esther Osu-Ekufo, who has revealed that the unpopular communication service tax is intended to strengthen cyber infrastructure to boost security. Speaking to Evans Mensah on PM Express Monday evening, Mrs. Osu-Ekufo noted if the structures are not put in place, users of technology will bear the consequences of cyber criminals.
Crisis, and let's balance it with the amount that they have not paid. We are talking of investment over 5 billion Ghana cedis. So if you come out to say that you have paid 60 million, what have you done?
more difficult for them to configure the systems. But the question I posed to them, which they couldn't answer, was that if there had been a deduction in the tax which inured to their benefit, would they need 6 to 8 weeks to configure their systems to take advantage of that? No. They would implement it immediately. When the government imposed a 6-cent surcharge on international incoming traffic, they charged it as soon as the tax was, the surcharge was imposed on all international incoming traffic. So why are they saying they need 6 to 8 weeks to configure their systems to be able to do this? I think that if they put their minds to it, and with a little bit of pressure on our part, they can configure their systems. They're all using a lot of technology in their systems. They call their billing platforms an intelligent network. It is only left to human beings to sit down over a 24 to 48-hour period, reconfigure their systems so that they can deduct this tax as and when you use their service instead of this upfront deduction. I dare say, I was going to say that they're being a bit lazy and dragging their feet, but I won't say that.
Is this making government unpopular, especially the way it's been implemented?
Oh, absolutely. And it appeared to be a deliberate attempt to do so. They've denied it. But it is as if you won't give us at least 4 weeks before the imposition, the increase takes effect, then we will do this in the most painful manner as possible to cause disaffection against government. And it is clear. And when we had those conversations, we pointed it out to them. You may deny it, but your mode of implementation of this tax clearly demonstrates that even if it was an unintended consequence of your actions, that is what has happened.
Now, on a much personal note, the Communications Minister revealed she has been receiving text messages referring to her as a wicked witch following the implementation of the tax.
Receiving text messages haranguing me for being a wicked witch for imposing this tax. And I told them that I don't have the power to impose taxes. That is not my duty. Taxes are imposed by Parliament upon a request by the Finance Minister and government. That is their forte. I don't impose taxes. But there's such a huge kickback. And it is understandable. So many of us are using our mobile devices and credit that we purchase, the bundles that we purchase, to do so much more than we used to in the past. It's a computer in your pocket. We're doing banking, we're doing trading, we're learning. It's a learning device. Where agricultural information is being sent back and forth, and we're using it to provide access to health services. We're doing so many things with our mobile phones, and it's great. But as we use it more, we also need to think about the fact that that's a medium. If the underlying infrastructure is not properly protected, can expose all our interactions to being interfered with by people who have the know-how and the wherewithal and the time and the incentive to attack that digital infrastructure.
Away from that story, suspected drug addicts and other criminals have taken over 6 pedestrian underpasses as the Sofo Line interchange in Kumasi. Pedestrians are scared by the situation and are forced to cross the road at unauthorized places at the risk of their lives. Nanaya Ojima takes us on a trip to the project site as funding shortfalls keep work uncompleted for over a decade.
A young man is remanded into prison custody for allegedly raping a teenager who attempted to use the tunnel. Robbery of unsuspecting users of the underground bypass is a common occurrence, as reported by police at Sontreso. We found auto sprayer Akwesi Owusu taking a nap in what he finds cozy but poorly lit tunnel.
I am an auto sprayer. I come here to take a nap whenever business is slow. At night, I sleep in the fitting shop. The other people who come here have gone to find food.
Akwesi relocated here from Apa in the Ashanti region to pitch camp here. Police have picked him up a couple of times in swoops to rid the area of criminals. He admits to using drugs but denies the people who use the tunnel for shelter are criminals.
We don't do drugs in the tunnel. We do them in the bush. I do smoke and use tramadol too. But we are not thieves. The police sometimes arrest us, but after investigations, we are freed.
All 6 tunnels are not in use, except one fixed for pedestrians, in order to reduce knockdown at the Prempeh College and Basic School end of the interchange. Decorated with pictures of past presidents and Ashanti traditional symbols, it is preferred by many. Kofi Boateng uses the tunnel frequently for convenience. He is excited about installation of security cameras and deployment of security men within the structure. For 2 months, I've been using this place, and it's safe. We thank them for this. Our children can now go to school safely. Despite financial challenges due to government indebtedness, contractors had to fix this strategic tunnel for safety, especially of students. However, many people feel unsafe to use it and will rather risk their lives to cross dangerously on the busy road. Kwabna Ejay is one of them.
Some of us are very stubborn, and I'm one of them. I should have used a tunnel, but I didn't. If a vehicle should knock me down, it is my own doing. We must educate our friends to use the tunnel instead.
Now, founder of defunct Capital Bank William Atuesien and 3 others have pleaded not guilty to 26 charges, including stealing of various sums in excess of 260 million cedis. The 3 are Dr. Tetenete, Managing Director of MC Management Services Limited, Fitzgerald Odonko, former CEO of the bank, and Kate Kote Papafio, CEO of Reroy Cables Limited. Attorney General Gloria Ekufu today presented the facts of the case to Accra High Court, presided over by Justice Eric Che Bafo. She told the court that liquidity support amounting to 620 million Ghana cedis handed by the bank to Revive Capital Bank was appropriated and transferred to various companies owned by Mr. Essien. Some of this liquidity support, according to the AG, was also presented by MC Management Services, owned by Mr. Essien, and according to the AG, as initial capital to get a banking license for the defunct sovereign bank. Ms. Ekufu spoke to the media after proceedings in court.
That you have presented, do you think you have a concrete case against these 4 accused persons?
First of all, let me say this. When a case is investigated, the docket on it is presented to my office. My attorneys and I have a special team that will study and review the docket on the specific matter. Where we think that there is a need for further investigation, we ask that it be done in whichever aspect that we consider ought to be investigated further. So to answer directly to your question, it was after a very serious review of the docket and the evidence made available to the office by the investigators that the charges have been preferred. If we did not think that we had a case worth presenting in court such that the minimum burden of having the accused persons being called upon to answer to the charges, we would not have brought the charge.
One of the defense lawyers, Dr. Ayini, raised the issue in court that how could one steal from another with the person's consent, and that he finds this case to be quite noble in terms of our legal system here.
Whilst I'm very reluctant to discuss the merits of the case, I will briefly say that the monies that were given to Capital Bank were given to Capital Bank, neither to Essel, neither to Fitzgerald Odonko, neither to Nettie, neither to the lady accused person, Kwoti Papafio. The money, as the lawyers for the defense themselves said, was given to Capital Bank. Basic principle in law is that a company is a separate personality from the individuals. So if money is given to a bank, and mind you, for a specific purpose, and then individuals, be it that they have any interest in the bank, they are still separate and apart from the bank. If they use it differently, in a manner which is not consistent with the purpose for which the bank advanced the money, certainly there must be a problem.
Madam, we know there are a number of...
It's not possible to say. I can only say that investigations are going on. What it is that for the sake of expedition, my office is very concerned that these matters be dealt with expeditiously because of the public interest, because these are monies of the state which has been advanced to the banks. And so a special investigative team dedicated to investigating the bank cases are working on them. And you can imagine it's not a simple stealing matter. You caught somebody with a goat, but we are talking about bank transactions over a period. You can imagine the number of documents that you have to review to enable you. Yes, some investigation was conducted by the Bank of Ghana, and that is for purposes of seeing whether or not the regulatory conditions have been fulfilled or breached. That is quite different and apart from the kind of evidence that you require if you want to prosecute. We need to draw that line. Whatever had come out of the initial reports submitted to Bank of Ghana, that formed the basis for the liquidation of the bank, only serve as pointers to investigators who will investigate for purposes of prosecution. And for that reason, it is not possible for me to tell you when these cases will be ready. I can only assure you that we are working very hard with the investigators.
Defense lawyer Dr. Dominic Ayine also addressed the media.
The law is very, very clear. If you look at the Criminal and other Offences Act, right? I think it's Section 120, okay, 121 B. It is very, very clear that you cannot steal somebody's property with their consent. Even from a common sense point of view, it is impossible for you to accuse me of stealing when you have given me the property yourself, willingly and voluntarily. Of course, if I said things to you that represented fraudulent misrepresentations, in that case you can say that I have defrauded you. But where I have taken your property with your own consent, I cannot be accused of stealing. That was the point that I was trying to make. But thank you very much.
Still live on JoyNews today with me, Daniel Daze. Let's move to another story now. And the Ghana Police Service has released a statement concerning suspected cases of bribery of officials of the service who are on traffic watch. Let's bring you excerpts of that statement now.
The Inspector General of Police has directed the following measures be implemented with immediate effect. All highway patrol, traffic, barriers, snap checks, etc. will henceforth be under the supervision of a senior police officer at the duty points where they are assigned. A special task force has been instituted to conduct periodic checks on the roads by interviewing drivers, passengers and other road users to collect further information on allegation of such unprofessional conduct by police officers. Additionally, the IGP directs that the senior police officers supervising such duties should make themselves readily accessible to the public in order to receive complaints relating to extortions, deliberate delays of motorists, the use of uncivil language, as well as publicly making political statements that have the propensity to compromise their neutrality as officers. The IGP has further directed that to ensure police accountability, especially on the highways, special phone numbers will be announced to enable the public send videos of police misconduct, pictures, WhatsApp, text messages, among others, on police unprofessional conduct, as well as exemplary ones for others to emulate. The police administration appeals to the public to give maximum cooperation as far as this exercise is concerned, and wish to assure the public that such complaints, when received, will be expeditiously dealt with.
Away from that story, let's do some politics. And the Ashanti Regional Secretariat of the Opposition National Democratic Congress has described as an exercise in mediocrity and waste of taxpayers' money President Akufo-Addo's recent tour of the region. The party's communications bureau says the president has nothing to show in the NPP stronghold, where public confidence in the party is waning amid concerns over poor roads and other developmental issues. Nana Sensor-Mensah was at that news conference, addressed by the Regional Communications Officer, Abbas Nuruddin, and reports.
The opposition party asserts NPP has neglected its electoral fortress with what it says are failed promises. Mr. Nuruddin catalogues some of President Akufo-Addo's promises which remain unfulfilled.
The multi-million-dollar question we are asking is, what has he got to show for this huge influx of revenue? On the few road projects inspected by the president, contractors packed out of sight immediately he left, citing lack of funds and proper contractual agreement. Ladies and gentlemen, if President Akufo-Addo and the NPP truly value the development of the Ashanti-Man beyond relying on it as an electoral fortress, we would like to pose the following questions to the president. Where are the Sino-Hydro roads he promised the good people of Kumasi? Where are they? Where is the Swami interchange that he spoke about some time ago in his State of the Nation? Where is the 1 million constituency that he promised Ashanti-Man? Why is Ashanti's share of the 350 SHS he promised to establish after 18 months in office? Why is Ashanti's share of the Zongo Development Fund? Why has Arabic teachers under the Youth Employment Program not been paid for the past 17 months? Emphasis 9, I would like to emphasize on this point.
The NDC communication officer believes NPP's unflinching support in Ashanti region has been reciprocated only with what he describes as hoax, which became more pronounced during the president's 3-day visit. He encouraged residents to persevere in NPP hardship until the NDC returns to rescue them if it wins the 2020 elections.
Why did he not visit Obuasi to speak to issues of small-scale mining? We believe the president's answer to these questions will further reinforce and expose his deceitfulness and the ingratitude of the NPP to the Ashanti region. Indeed, President Akufo-Addo, while neglecting his party's World Bank and feeding it with peanuts, has not forgotten about his own backyard, which continues to receive the best of road network and other social amenities. It is certainly time for the World Bank to be appreciated with its fair share of the pie under the party that enjoys the lion's share of its electoral support. If President Akufo-Addo dreams that our people will be moved by sweet-sounding rhetorics and empty promises again, then he must have a rethink. This is because in 2020, he will be judged solely based on his abysmal performance in government.
For JoyNews, Nana Sensor-Mensah, Kumasi.
Now, the Chinese ambassador to Ghana, Shi Ting-Wang, says Ghanaians should see the traffic jam in Accra and other major cities in Ghana as an indication that the country is developing. According to him, even though the trend poses a serious headache to many users of the road, if a better management of the situation was adopted, it will turn out to be a great developmental experience. Speaking at a China-Africa Urban Development Forum at the Confucius Institute at the University of Cape Coast, the ambassador called for diverse ways to uplift the standard of living of the Ghanaian.
Many vehicles are trapped in heavy vehicular traffic in part of Accra and other city centers in Ghana. The long chain of vehicles barely moves, giving users headaches. But the Chinese ambassador says that's a good sign that the country is on a development path. Shi Ting-Wang says it is good for the development of a developing country like Ghana.
If there's no traffic, if no cars on the road, there's no development. If there are so many cars on the road, it's happy. It is a good thing. It's a good trend for the development. Just like with China, we have been experienced that now in China, in big cities, if you go to Beijing, Shanghai, and everywhere in the big cities in China, it's always traffic jam. But now it's getting better. We could manage it better. But that is a very common phenomenal kind of development. Now you have a traffic jam in Accra, you have a traffic jam in Cape Coast, in Kumasi. I think that is a good kind of the momentum of development. So in the future, you could improve your management skills, but you don't have to afraid of the traffic.
Director of the Confucius Institute at the University of Cape Coast, Professor Ishmael Mensah, spoke on how to build resilient cities that could survive the harsh realities of climate change.
To help address the most prevailing environmental challenge of our time, climate change, cities have to be equipped to face the future shocks and stresses that come with climate change, to enable urban dwellers to survive the harsh realities of climate change, and in fulfillment of Sustainable Development Goal number 11. SDG Goal number 11 calls for making cities inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable.
Deputy Central Regional Minister Thomas Ejebafo was optimistic that the Chinese will continue to partner Ghana in the development process, especially matters on the Sino Hydro project.
Permit me, therefore, to acknowledge with admiration the frantic effort being made by the Confucius Institute towards promoting learning of the Chinese language in Ghana, and for that matter, the strong relationship which existed between Ghana and China over the years, especially in the areas of infrastructure development, including the National Theatre, the Bui Power Project, now the TC General Hospital, the Sino Hydro deal, and I hope it's coming on board very soon.
The forum called for climate change mitigation and renewable energy. Richard Kwejunyakon, Joy News, Cape Coast.